Welcome everyone to my YouTube channel. This is William Pascal, and we're going to take a look at some games from my recent simultaneous exhibitions on lichess.org. I've picked a couple of games from the last 2 weeks, so rather than zone in on like one event, I'm doing the Simul on lichess every week for 25 players usually in the evenings on Sundays European time. I've chosen 4 games here from the many available 50 games basically. Tried to include a couple of subscribers in the list here. Please think about subscribing to my Twitch channel, and please subscribe and like here and share with your friends on YouTube. I'm International Master William Pascal. I live in Budapest, Hungary, and I'm playing these games on lichess. So we're playing in my live stream here 25 players simultaneously. The first game we're going to look at is against this player Move 11, who is one of our subscribers on the Twitch stream. Move 11's white. I'm actually black in all the games we're going to look at today. Maybe it's coincidence. Maybe it's just that I have more trouble when I'm playing black, and this is not unusual. White playing the first move is some advantage. So Move 11 played g3 against me. I'd never seen him do this before, like a reverse opening. Played this player quite a few times. I opened with d5. I actually personally struggle a little bit against g3, knight f3, which are moves that I typically play myself. I've actually always found it to be the case that, surprisingly, it's hard to play against openings that you play yourself. So d5, d3, e5, and now bishop g2. White is playing what could become like a King's Indian attack. I've also recently been playing the Caro-Kann, and when I've been playing the Caro-Kann, I've been facing d3 early on sometimes. So I adopted a system here that that is usable out of the Caro-Kann move order as well with c6. It's like white playing d4, e4, c3 against the modern defense. It's a fairly solid setup where I'm trying to play maybe Tory attack style, get my bishop out to g4. White here played now knight f3, and this is an interesting position where I know that bishop d6, if colors were reversed, I know that bishop d6 is the normal setup, but for some reason I thought I could improvise here, maybe not put my bishop on that square where it's basically kind of hemmed in by the pawn on e5. So I played instead a move that's rarely been tried. And knight d7 would probably be okay for black too. But I played queen c7 here, and over the board I didn't see what could be wrong with this move. But I'll show you the problem. I mean, if there is a potential problem, the problem with it. So he castles. Actually, next move, he played c4 right away. Okay, for a minute I thought he castled, but no, he played c4 right away. I think this move is dynamic. You know, you're trying to take advantage of the queen on c7 and open it up. Maybe open up the c file against the queen on c7. So, I guess theoretically I could play something like knight f6, let white take on d5 and take back with a knight. But I don't really like that kind of Sicilian. It doesn't look right for black. So I take on c4. This was my plan, to play this kind of structure where it's symmetrical, and the bishop on g2 doesn't have much effectiveness. But there is a problem, perhaps a problem here. A very interesting move that white can play in this position. d4. If we basically think about this position, it's really like an Alapin or c3 Sicilian with colors reversed. And I'll show you what I mean by that. We could do something like this. e4, c5, c3, and now d6. A friend of mine, lifetime Sicilian player, likes to play this line for black. d4, and my friend plays something like knight f6, usually bishop d3, I guess, but d takes c5 is possible. And then knight c6. Black can play for like knight c6 and d5. And it's funny, that is not the only way the game can go, but it is a possibility. The idea of playing d5 and just not recapturing the pawn on c5 is basically what's happening here. If we look at this, so effectively it becomes a c3 Sicilian when white plays the move c4. Bang. And now we've got basically a reverse c3 Sicilian. So taking here with the idea of this c3 Sicilian idea, d4, and it's amazing, but it looks actually quite promising. There's no games that have been played here ever. But white's development is pretty good, and he could take with the queen, maybe take with the queen on d4. This pawn on c4 is weak. The queen is kind of badly placed on c7. I mean, of course it could be attacked by bishop f4. I don't think that's really the main issue here, though. I think white is just nicely ahead in development, and it's a very viable attempt. So move 11, probably playing this system for the first time, you know, he didn't come up with the idea of d4. Perhaps the most normal move is like castles, but I kind of like his c4, trying to act quickly here. So after d takes c, he missed d4. He played, it's actually possible to sack a pawn according to the engine with castles. Wow, that's another one. Like, okay, I've seen this idea, another reverse position, the Pirt's defense. I've seen the idea of e4, d6, d4. David Norwood had a game years ago, I remember, against a friend of mine who played, not this position, sorry, but I guess bishop d3? Or maybe it was a modern defense move order. I see, okay. Now I remember. Okay, e4, g6, or d6, d4, g6. Yeah, we'll have to go with g6, I guess, to show you what I was going to show you here. g6, d4, bishop g7, c3, and then d6, and my friend played f4. And I think this was the position where after knight f6, bishop d3, Norwood used this idea to play c5, d takes c, and knight c6, which I had never seen before. I mean, maybe it's not in the database, but you know, it was quite an interesting idea to sack this pawn. He basically did something like this with black, and got an initiative. The engine's having trouble getting its head around this position. Its evaluation keeps fluctuating, but it was strong enough for black to take out, you know, a lower rated master by usurping the initiative. So that's another idea that white could actually try here, according to the engine, which is interesting. Like takes castles, pawn takes pawn, and now just recapturing, like with the pawn on d3. Again, like the Norwood game I just showed you, you could sack a pawn like this with white, maybe seize the initiative by doing that. But it's high risk, high reward kind of stuff. Anyway, onward with this game. So I take, he takes back, and I think this now, there's an Ervin Moses game. Yeah, so it's pretty much equal. Once we get the structure, this is what I was looking for. I think it, like, you know, kills white. He's got the structure. The c4 pawn is kind of an annoying weakness, so he solves that problem by playing a very, very quick b4 here. A couple of games. Movsisyan, the other Movsisyan, playing one game against Arkady Shavalev. But white plays b3. You know, he's worried about his c4 pawn. I don't think white has any advantage here. And then after bishop e2, I get my active bishop. I didn't want to put the bishop on d6. That's why I prefer that. We end up transposing to a game from 2000, a Eugenio Torre game with black against Richard Batoon, which is interesting. I'm sure by a totally different order of moves. But I've achieved what I wanted to achieve. I stabilized the structure. I've got my bishop out on g4. It's very much like a typical Torre attack reversed. Torre. Different Torre, but it works. a3, a5, and then, okay, white got very creative here with b4. I don't know what he was thinking about. I didn't see a direct tactical idea, but basically I think white was hoping for something like queen a4 and opening the a file, but I have an obligation to take this pawn. So takes, rook takes a1, bishop takes a1, and bishop takes b4, and I was waiting for some kind of, you know, tactical shot here. I mean, he has a little bit of compensation after the queen a4. It kind of, I was a little bit worried about it, but I don't know what we can really objectively, do here, other than what I did in the game, which was just go back to d6. If he checks me, I can play like queen b8. So I didn't see any problem with this really. So we just basically win a pawn. It's not enough compensation. Castles, rook b1. I mean, nice brave attempt by white, but I don't think he fully worked this out. Rook e8 here was a little hesitant, but I wanted to develop all my pieces. And now he starts to get this threat of queen a7. I played knight c5, queen a7, and now e4. And black has the initiative. I don't think I really analyzed bishop takes f6 too much, assuming I could take on f3, but maybe that isn't good. I'm surprised he didn't play this actually. Pawn takes, pawn takes. Yeah, this was my idea. Okay, if pawn takes, I have bishop f5. So now I remember. Yeah, bishop takes f3, bishop takes f3, and this is a computer move, bishop d4, which I didn't see. So apparently he could have done this, maybe just going down a pawn in this ending where he has some drawing chances. A little bit similar to the game. Bishop takes c5, queen takes c5. Kind of similar to what happened in the game where white was a pawn down but managed to draw. Maybe a more accurate way of playing here for white. Instead, he played bishop d4, and I guess this is just a blunder, losing outright. This point in the tournament, or rather the simultaneous exhibition, I'm getting very low of time, and for some reason here, I just looked at pawn takes pawn, and thought I'm losing the piece back, missing that I had bishop f5, I guess. So I blundered, not winning the piece. Here I just can clearly win. Pawn takes pawn, and then this move, hitting bishop f5, bishop takes b1. I don't know if I looked at bishop takes c5, bishop takes c5. He's got no time to take on b7, so he's simply blundered. And I counter blundered with knight to d7, not winning a piece here. He plays knight g5. Now it's unclear again. Bishop f5, knight takes e4, and then b6, and I'm just in very, very bad time pressure. And here it's just equal now. Takes f3, and I can smash his structure where hoping that I can win this pawn maybe later on e4. So I took here. Pawn takes e4. It looks like it's better to take with a knight according to the engine. I don't see anything wrong with taking with a knight. I had basically considered myself to have thrown away the winning position at this point. I didn't expect to have winning chances anymore, but he should probably take with the piece there. And now, because here he remains a little bit worse, I can trade off this bishop here. I don't know if e3 is not really a good move, so he plays the best move there. Bishop takes, knight takes, and then I win a pawn temporarily. Takes back on c6. Now I'm up a pawn again, but white has lingering activity now with rook on the 7th rank, and he is actually able to draw the game. Bishop d3, I'm attacking a pawn, but I have to be careful with the back rank threats. Rook a7. Now I tried to stay active, but he has e5, which is a good move, enlivening his bishop on g2. Now g6. I wanted to keep the f5 square under control in case I had to move my bishop to c4, but it's probably okay to allow knight f5. I was concerned about knight f5, so basically this. I think I was right to be concerned about the knight coming into d6, and I played it safe here with g6, bishop d5, and now I have to take on e5, but I was paranoid about letting him capture on f7, but it doesn't look like anything. Rook takes, and I'm still a pawn up, and black still has to watch this b pawn. So white has good drawing chances because it's so simplified, but this was really a major mistake by me. He has to take with the bishop with check, and then I can just move my king to h8. I would assume h8 would be okay. King f8 is also possible. So this was another blunder in time pressure. I allowed a draw here, a simple draw with knight e6. And this is a nice move, which I didn't see. Bishop takes, pawn takes, and then rook b7, winning the pawn back. So I want to force a draw here in the rook ending. And it's truly a draw. I would play bishop takes. We agreed to a draw. I would play bishop takes, rook takes, and then activate my rook when it should be a draw one way or another. So moving on to the second game. This is a game against Ayeste, who is a regular on my stream here. Ayeste is white. He plays e4, which was a little bit of a surprise because this player usually plays d4 against me. Here, he's a guy who plays setups like this normally. d4. We've had many games. d4, knight f6, knight c3, d5, bishop f4, g6, and so forth. It's an aggressive anti-King's Indian, anti-Grunfeld system. But here he surprised me. He played e4, and I played g6, and now he plays d4. We go into a modern defense. This was actually the roughest game for me, I think, the last couple of weeks, where I really had a problem. The opening was okay. It's actually a modern defense. Theoretically, a6 is the most aggressive move. He plays a4 now. I was kind of happy to see this move. I think that a4 is a compromising move. You know, I mean, you're restricting black, but you're also probably limiting your own ability to play very aggressively by castling queenside. So I think, although a4 is the second most common move, you know, queen d2 or f4 feel, and even h4 is a move here that's commonly played, feel much more aggressive. So I'm happy to see a4. And I played b6. It looks like knight f6 scores a bit better than b6. It's interesting. Let's see here. If I play knight f6, I wonder, I guess a5 is not really dangerous. White would play something like h3 or queen d2 or knight f3. This move doesn't really help white. You know, I could even play b5 potentially on the queen side, I would think, at some point. I don't know if it's good right away, but it's playable. Try to carry on the queen side. So I guess a5 isn't really a threat by white, in other words. It's interesting to consider knight f6. Okay, I played hippopotamus style here. b6, knight f3, bishop b7. There's a lot of games. Yefimenko playing a game with white. Frolyanov. Let's see who else. Alright, so bishop c4. Is this the most active move? It looks like the most active move. Bishop d3 is more common. I didn't really come up with a good response here. I played kind of passively. What else to play, though? I don't think there is a possibility to play anything else. We played hippo style. Here's a game, Frolyanov versus Halifman. Nagiris game where he lost against Becerra. Some old Chinese game. Zijun, the women's world champion, played white. So I played e6. And what do we have here? Queen d2. And then all of a sudden the game just drops off the charts. So nobody plays queen d2 because nobody's castling queenside in this line. And queen e2 is pretty infrequent. It looks like either d5 or castles kingside are the moves that most players play. And I mean, the computer really likes d5. d5, it's very committal though. I used the idea of bishop takes c3 a little bit later in the game. And it's kind of risky though. Looks like everyone played e5 here and everyone lost. Hompi Konaru, Dmitry Raiderman, a couple of good players, lost against weaker players. So that's disturbing. d5 looks quite strong and actually casts some doubt on this position. I really feel uncomfortable here. I don't like e5. We will see. My friend Vinicius Marcus Santos played this with black and also lost against Stamenkovic. What's up, Vinicius? Long time no see. So queen e2 or castles kingside are much less dangerous. He should play d5. Good to know. I guess d5, e5 would be the most solid, and that's what was played in all these games. I don't know, where white goes from there, though. It's kind of a weird position. Castles. Nobody played castles. I don't know. Next time I'll try that with white. Alright. So he played queen d2, and I played h6, which is funny. That's what this one random game we're following from 2003 featured the same exact sequence. Normally in the hippo, you don't want to allow bishop h6. But maybe it's not necessarily a real hippo yet. I haven't put my knights on e7 and d7, so maybe we can play knight f6 after all, it looks like. It does hit the pawn on e4. That's kind of an issue. Hitting this pawn on e4. Maybe the weak point with the queen d2. This move looks like it does cause a problem. Yeah, I mean this is why queen d2 is not good, because of knight f6. So I reacted a little bit too automatically here. h6, also what this 2200 player did. Now all of a sudden he's got a good strong center. I'm my second chance to play knight f6 here, but I was already like just concentrating on a one idea. But he should play d5, it looks like. Now I don't know if this is a better version of that previous position or not. If I play like e5, because his queen's on d2, he doesn't have like knight d2. Maybe my setup is not that bad. White doesn't have the greatest piece configuration either. So he does d5 a little bit later. Rook d1, knight d7, castles, which is pretty innocuous, and we've actually transposed to a Gelashvili game, which is funny. It's just a hippo. It's like a standard hippo. Gelashvili and two Gelashvili games. Wow. And Chepkaitis, the legendary Heinrich Chepkaitis smart chip, also played this. Yeah, I definitely had I might have had a hippo or two with Blitz against Chepkaitis back in the day. This is probably a rapid tournament or something. So those guys all held. Gelashvili winning and drawing game, and Chepkaitis, but they're all playing lower rated players. Rook fe1, and here I played g5, which is the computer's move. It's unbelievable. I'm like Stockfish. You know, it seems to me like I want to have this extended knight fianchetto with g5, so I did it. But the computer likes knight f6 too. That was chosen. Chepkaitis probably played king f8. Let's see. No, Hort played king f8. Wow. Vlastimil Hort had a game in 2002. So I played g5. This is risky. He plays d5. And I just couldn't bring myself to kill my bishop on g7. But it comes back to haunt me. I don't know. I made a very, very risky decision here to give up my dark squared bishop. I mean, if I was doubling his pawns, I guess it would be better, but yeah, I do bishop takes c3, he takes with the queen, and I close it up, and I thought, okay, I have no bad pieces. If he plays a5, I play b5, but I'm not sure. I mean, I think that a5 might even be a good move for white here. I overestimated my ability to keep the position closed in this position. Now he plays b4, knight g6. I was blissfully unaware of how difficult my position is here. Again, he could play a5, guaranteeing that if I play b5, later on he's going to be able to strike me with c4. And I think that's probably not a bad approach. Instead he plays g3. This is also a good move. And now, the problem with my position is that I never really decided where I'm going to put my king in this game, and I was hesitating, and I wasted a lot of time. a5 is at least fixing the queen side. I'm not sure if it's a good move or not, weakening myself on that side of the board on the long run. I don't know. I played knight f6. He plays bishop c1. This was an excellent move. He like has all this bishops looking both ways. I was expecting something passive like knight to d2, but he plays this, and now bishop c8, which is like a standard maneuver in these kind of positions. Now king g2. I think this is probably a bit weird. He definitely tempted me into an attack with queen d7. I don't know what I should have done. I really am not sure. I should have found a long-term plan for my king. I played like queen d7, and I got this position when I played queen h3 check, which was, I think, ignorant, you know. I played queen d7 with a double attack. I thought I had something down here, but then I realized that he's just kicking me out with bishop f1. So my attack really doesn't do too much damage, though maybe I had a better way to play it. The problem is that he's on c7, and I'm going to need time to play something like king d8. So let's see what the best would have been in this position. I should probably try to keep my queen on h5 and play for attack down there. So castles, apparently. I was deathly afraid to like lose my pawn on c7, but if I castle bishop f1, I thought maybe I could play queen h5. I'm going to be in a very bad way here. Knight d2, rook a7, b takes a6, and I can't recapture. So this looks, it looks much better for white, and I was scared my queen was going to get trapped on h5. Surprisingly, I get absolutely decimated after this. I thought everything's okay, you know, it's cool. And then I changed my plans. Okay, I'll come back. It's all right. It's a closed position. And then this was a really sad move to play, bishop b7. I don't know what I should play, but it's probably not bishop b7. But I was down, starting to get into a little bit of time pressure here. Played bishop b7. Knight d2, excellent maneuvering with the knight. And my plan at that point when I played bishop b7 was to castle queenside. And then I was like, oh man, you know, if I castle queenside, he's just going to sack a piece on a5 or b6 or one of those squares and decimate me. So I realized now that I couldn't castle queenside, and I started to freak out. I castle kingside, plays knight c4, and then I'm like, okay, terrified of f4 here. Plays knight e3, and then I realized that I'm positionally like losing because of the f5 square. At this point, strategically black is probably lost, but I don't know what to recommend for me here. Castling kingside was probably suicide, but I don't really know where I should go with my king. The engine is talking about king f8. It's just a very bad position. So an excellent game by Este, and he takes me out here with the knight on f5. I just totally panicked now. I need to challenge that knight with knight e7 right away. It's literally the only move. The problem was, you know, I liked my knight stopping f4 and supporting e5, so I was hoping to have time to challenge the knight with another piece, but there's no time. I played bishop c8, he plays queen d2. This was a powerful move, threatening maybe knight takes h6. He could have also played h4, but now h4 comes. Here he actually has knight takes h6 right away, which I didn't see. It's a beautiful mate, you know. King takes h6, queen takes g5 check, king h7. It's kind of a rare mating theme, you know, with the one queen and all these pieces blocking in the black king. It's not common that I've seen this pattern before. That's why I was surprised when I got mated in the game. I actually did not see this coming. I played knight e7 and I saw this, but I thought I was getting away, and it's like forced mate in this position, literally forced mate. It's amazing. So I just didn't see it to the last minute, and either way I have bishop g5 mate. Just an absolutely brilliant game by Este. Thank you for the game, sir. Good game, man. Definitely the best played positional game I've seen in one of my simuls in a while. Next up is a game with Nefyedov, and he's been playing in the simuls regularly. He's also a subscriber to my Twitch account, which is awesome that you guys can help support the stream, and also here support the YouTube by just subscribing and sharing the videos with your friends. Knight f3, d6, and Nefyedov plays open Sicilian. We've had a bunch of different kind of lines before. He seems like he's getting stronger though since playing on my stream. Playing classical Sicilian with black. He plays bishop e3. This is this is a really sharp variation, the so-called Karaklaj. I can play other moves like e5, e6, g6 transposes to the dragon, but knight g4 is the main move, the best scoring move for black. Now, the Karaklaj system is bishop b5, which is leading to really strange games. He plays bishop g5 instead, which I've played myself. And years ago, I played both black and white. I remember once I had black against Nakamura, and it was a draw. And once I had white against Yermolinsky, and I won. So I actually have a good score in this position with both colors. But I don't know. I don't really find it easy to play this position with h6 and g5, the extended fianchetto. I think I might have lost once with Alex Lenderman when he was like really young. But I got sick during that game, so I kind of don't fully count it as a game. But it was probably this variation, if I remember correctly. We had queen b6. Okay, this move is okay. Less weakening than h6 and g5. He plays bishop b5, and now bishop d7, and now white played bishop takes c6, and this is a rare move. Apparently, just some lesser known masters. This guy I lost a terrible game against. Okay, bishop takes c6, not really the right move. So you're supposed to castle, and here I experimentally played knight takes f2 in a game, but I think this is too dangerous. In fact, I think white can even play queen f3, not taking the knight. That leads to total chaos. But it's probably best to just play rook takes f2. I had a draw against Emo Solansi, but after queen f3, this variation looks kind of dangerous for black. f6, and well, I don't have that much development, but I guess it's playable. This would have to be analyzed really, really deeply. My friend Emil and I agreed to a draw here. I mean, it wasn't a grandmaster draw, but I was a little higher rated, and he was a tiny bit better, so I was content with a draw. But objectively, most players would play this game out, and I'm not sure if I would repeat this knight takes f2. So it looks like most players play queen takes d4, and I've seen this endgame before: bishop takes c6, queen takes d1. There's some old games here: Anand Tukmakov, 1990, Benjamin Dlugi. I mean, I don't think this is really dangerous for black. Bishop takes d7, king takes d7. Some kind of tiny microscopic endgame advantage to white. It might be a little bit unpleasant. So I should probably look at this. Maybe we can find an improvement here. The engine is talking about f6 and g6, which is funny because none of those moves have been played in practice. I mean, f6, pretty forcing move. This might be a new idea in this position. So the computer has an interesting way of playing chess, not what you would see from a human being. But anyway, that's probably best play in the main line there, and that's probably what I should do in the future. But instead, Nefedov took with the bishop, which isn't really dangerous. He castles now. Got one good player here, Stanojowski, who I've played in Blitz online. Okay, now I could take the pawn on b2, but it looks dangerous. This guy Marian Shima did it. I was scared to do that, like scared of some kind of poison pawn, Sabo Attila, queen d2. But I guess this poison pawn isn't quite 100% correct. Okay, over the board, and with my clock ticking in the Simul, I didn't have the courage to take on b2. I played h6. Stanojewski also played that way. Now bishop c1, that's fine. So here I found it interesting. The computer suggests knight f6. I was wondering what to do with my knight, and I saw these weird knight tours like through c4, but that's very unnatural. I'm not very well developed. So maybe, wow, this move is a really solid move, like rook d8, just making sure that you won't get an e5 anytime soon. That's cool. Ultra deep idea. We're just bringing the knight back to f6. I played kind of like without a plan here, which is dangerous. e5, I expected maybe knight f5, but he played quietly here, knight b3. Now bishop e7. h3, knight f6, and bishop e3 is coming. But he played this move, queen d3, and it's interesting. Creative way of developing. It's funny because the engine talks about bishop e3, but it also likes queen d3, which is its second choice there for a while. So I like queen d3. It looks like a good developing move. You got lateral mobility. I wanted to catch up in development. The problem was now here, I was debating very briefly between queen b7 and queen c7 because the queen has some activity on the b file. But in the end, I decided I wanted to secure my pawns on d6 and e5, so I played queen c7. And it looks like the computer is even thinking about queen b8. So bishop e3, queen c7, and now the critical moment in the game, f4. When I think maybe I should have just solidified here with rook d8. Something like rook a d8. Supporting, if he does f5, I have d5. I was scared of this pawn structure though. I thought he's got an outpost on c5. I just didn't really like, his pieces with this Nimzovician kind of outpost on c5. So he moves the queen, and then he's starting to threaten stuff like putting a piece on c5. But I have the two bishops, and maybe the chances are equal. So I made a mistake now, I guess, which isn't fatal. I took on f4. Bishop takes f4, and now there's a lot of pressure on d6. And now I absolutely, okay, the engine says knight h5. I don't quite fully understand, but it looks like I need to reinforce d6 now with rook d8. Instead, I got tempted by this other line with c5. Kind of a cheapo threatening c4. So I started to look for, like, easy ways to get out of the problem, and I think that c5, unfortunately, Nefedov played really well here. I mean, if he doesn't find knight d2, I would have had an active game, transferring my bishop to c6 and pressuring down the white square diagonal. But in a very timely fashion, he finds knight d2, which turns the position in his favor, and suddenly my pawns are like kind of hanging, and he has this blockade stuff and pressure on d6, and I realize now that I'm in some trouble. I played bishop e6, thinking about maybe just chopping off the knight. He played knight b5, triple attacking me, and I guess this is a blunder. So here he should just build up either b3 or knight to c4 with a positional advantage, like a significant positional advantage. And this is probably all I can do, like take and go into the slightly worse position. I have a bad bishop, he has a good bishop. Pressure, and the key square d5 in the Sicilian is the most important square in the opening. So he would have been slightly better. He got carried away with like knight to b5, and apparently after this I'm fine. c4, best move, and now rook d8. So I'm okay again. b3, and then maybe this move is too automatic, I don't know. a6 was just played kind of in time pressure. It looks like I have a really cool resource here with d5. I never would have found that in time pressure. I mean, this is an insane move, allowing bishop c7, but it's sort of beautiful. So if bishop c7, d takes c4, it's an absolutely amazing position. And then queen takes d8, rook takes d8, bishop takes b6, and then I don't know. I guess I have to take here on d2. There's no way I could have calculated this in time. Apparently black is okay here, sacking the exchange. But I mean, it's very hard to find that. So I could not break free so easily. I played a6 to kick him out, and then he's regrouping and getting back that clamp on the position. Knight d7, I didn't know what else to do. Queen g3. And then king h7 was too passive. Here I missed bishop f6, which would have kept me in the game at least. After this, Nefedov has a huge advantage. Instead of playing knight d5, though, which would have just clamped down, he's got a massive spatial advantage here. He played another move, knight f3, bishop f6, knight a4, also a good move. White's advantage is still there. Rook a d1. And I played knight e5. I should probably take this pawn here on e4, or at least think about it, because I could trade some stuff off. Maybe I also have bishop takes c4 possibly. But it looks like this would make some sense. Maybe trade this backward pawn for the e-pawn. Instead I played this, and now I just end up in a worse position. Knight takes, pawn takes, bishop takes, queen takes, and he was really low on time. I mean, Nefedov had like a minute left, and I had a minute and a half. But okay, we have an increment, so time isn't everything in this position. I think he should play on. He's a clear pawn up at this point with a basically close to winning position. It's very, very close to winning. I mean, it is a clear pawn up, and his king is pretty much safe. So he was very generous offer to draw here, fearing his time pressure. But I think overall interesting game, a good positional game that, you know, he missed some improvements. I missed some improvements. The final position he was clearly better, and I'm lucky to get away with a draw due to the time pressure only. Alright, we're going to move on to our last game for the Simul review for 2 weeks. It's Xerox, which has been a new player on my stream. This player is already, after only playing a few games against me, played some really exciting and interesting games. So I've enjoyed our few battles thus far. After e4, c5 this week, I played against him an interesting Winnoware French with the white pieces. So this time it's another Sicilian. After cd, knight takes, knight f6, knight c3, my standard classical Sicilian. He played bishop c4, which is cool because I see a lot of bishop g5, and I see bishop e3, and sometimes I see bishop e2, but I almost never see the Sozin for some reason. Now queen b6 is a move that's, you know, maybe black's best scoring option. I played this Chernyshov idea with knight a5 recently. It's actually playable and strange. It has 44% for black. And e6 is like standard. So I go with the standard approach. I should have played Chernyshov's move. Anyway, bishop e3, a6. We go into... okay, this move order is a little bit weird. He's playing bishop e3 kind of early here. Queen e2 is a bit more common. Not bad, though. I think Alonso Zapata used this against me. Bishop b3, queen c7, and okay, queen c7. I mean, the main lines are bishop e7. Ironically, here queen c7 is now less common than bishop e7. I mean, for years and years, bishop e7 was the main line. So queen c7, white can play f4. I lost a game against Hungarian IM once in this. There's a game Reinderman versus Kasparov. f4, though, is a good move order for white, transferring back into kind of Sozin lines. But Xerox goes with the standard so-called Velimirovich. I played knight a5, and now castles queenside. White has many moves here. Rook g1 is even a move, I think. Maybe not in this position, but later on. Okay, so castles, g4 is the main move there. b5, and now king b1. This actually is pretty common. It's the third most popular move here, king b1. And I was kind of forgetting the theory because I haven't played this in so long. You'll see some good games there. Amanatov and Adiban and Sarunas Solskis, the Pomniachi all playing with white. So f3, surprising move there. That looks slow. It's actually white's main move in this position. I'm really surprised by that. It actually has a bad score, f3. Looks too hesitant. I mean, g4 has a better score. I think that Mark Hebden played this move, bishop g5, against me. Mark, kind of a specialist in weird lines. But no, you know what? It was a different position. His bishop went back to d3. That's the thing, I mean, about bishop b3 that makes me question the move order. I mean, I think that white should keep the bishop on c4 because it can go back to d3 or b3 depending on the situation. So I like queen e2 a little bit better. Anyway, king b1, knight d7. Now this is a very rare move that I played. Shandor Videcki played a game. He's a Hungarian IM, an arbiter here. But it's not really the main move. It looks like bishop e7 is possible. Some people have even played rook b8. Knight takes b3, and that's the main move, but the engine actually likes b4. I was a little surprised to see this. b4 suggested by the engine. Knight a4, and of course bishop a4 check is possible there. Only one game from this position. Knight takes b3, Richard Forster, the Swiss, I believe, GM. A takes b. And there's a Nevednichi game with black, with knight takes a4, knight takes e4. Not clear. Probably he doesn't take back with the a pawn there, though. Let's see, c takes b. And there's Boris Kryman versus me. Oh my god, I completely forgot about this game. Wow. So Kryman was full of it there, huh? I lost this game in U.S. Championship to Kryman, and I don't think I ever... No, actually, it's okay. Wow. I never really analyzed the game afterward. It occurs to me now. I was so bummed about it. Knight takes e4. Rook c1, Kryman played. And we were following some old game that Laszlo Barca played with white. Wow. Interesting. Knight c5. God, this is not a memory I really want to bring back. So he was following a Barca game all the way from 1984. Jeez. e5 drew against Barca against Lars Degerman. But it looks like this is pretty good for white. Did I miss something? No, the engine is just good preparation by Kryman. This is actually pretty dangerous. I wonder what I played. Bishop b7 or queen b7? The heck did I play? No, I played queen b7 here. Wasn't healthy. This move apparently doesn't work. So I could have saved myself against Kryman by playing bishop d7, which makes a lot more sense. Still, knight takes d6 check. Bishop takes d6. Knight takes c5, and apparently he's still clearly better. Really good preparation by Kryman. I don't know. Even the engine doesn't see that stuff coming. Alright, well, I don't know if Xerox could copy that. Get it? But I varied here with knight d7. Now, if bishop takes e6, f takes e6, this is the type of sacrifice I faced a lot. I'm not sure what's going on here. This ending after queen takes c4, knight takes c4, knight d8 check, I have like a million games. Maybe king d8 is forced. And I trap the knight. Maybe I have to take on e3 first. This is a very standard sequence I've had in like 800 million blitz games against my friend Pop Gellert and other people online, but it should be okay for black. But the other line looks interesting, where he doesn't trade queens. He has this I didn't see. Queen c4, queen h5 check. And I have to ask my friend Gellert if he knows this position. I might have had a game with Gellert like this that didn't make it in the database or something. Or maybe Gellert just showed me his analysis. Looks like queen h3 is quite dangerous for black. So, if there's a refutation of my move knight d7, this is it. It looks really, really problematic. Queen h3 walking into this diagonal. Wow. Because there's knight c7 if knight c5. Why can't I? Only has knight d5 all the time in a lot of lines. That's a really big threat. I can't really meet that. How about knight b6? Knight b6, knight d5. And everything's protected. Knight takes d5, e takes d. That's ridiculous. Wow. I'm up a piece and I'm like losing. Up a piece and losing. Not unusual in Novella Mirovic. So this might be a direct refutation of. It might be a direct refutation of the whole variation. F takes, knight takes, queen c4, only move, queen h5 check, g6, queen h3, and nothing to do. Nothing to do. It's just a winning positional sacrifice for white. Natural that that Xerox didn't find this over the board. He played instead f4, and we had total chaos. This follows this grabber versus Vidyaki game. Now knight c5, f5, good move. And now I didn't play b4. I did play b4, okay. So we followed the game. And f takes e6, f takes e6. No, we lost the track. I see. So this guy hesitated here and played knight a4. Vidyaki's opponent played knight a4. That's a very weak move. And Xerox just went straight forward. Pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn. Bang, knight d5, sacking a piece. Absolutely strong. E takes, so a secondary refutation. Nice sacrifice, man. He's got a clear advantage. Bishop b7, and then rook f1. I was freaking out here. I should castle queenside, it looks like. I really don't understand how I didn't castle queenside in this position. I took on d5 with the idea of castling queenside, but then he didn't let me. This is where it got totally insane. I should have castled queenside here. And I don't know what's going on. I mean, white's a piece down, but clearly better according to the computer. Black's coordination, he's playing like I'm playing down a rook basically on h8. So being up a piece doesn't matter if your rook and your bishop aren't playing. It's really a difficult life here for black. Nice sacrifice, but so Xerox gets carried away. He goes totally berserk here after I played bishop takes d5 and shocked me with this move. And I was like, what? He's sacrificing a second piece? This is just insane. And at least I found the right move here. Bishop c4. Queen h5 check. And I couldn't believe this. This is totally maniacal. Bishop f7. Might have been better to play g6. He plays queen f3. And I didn't know what to do now. This was too passive, but probably good enough. And then I started to freak out again. He just throws another pawn at me. It's sort of scary psychologically, but I take. And now knight c6. And I played rook c8, which was a massive blunder. So apparently I can win with either e4 or knight e6 in this position, or even bishop c4. But this move actually manages to lose, it looks like. Knight takes e5. A blunder when he had to move bishop e7. An insane position. Threatening mate with... So instead of those moves, I played the natural, I guess, looking rook c8, threatening to take the knight on c6, but white misses the bishop e7 here, which is just absolutely devastating. We both missed it. He plays the second best move, knight takes e5, giving him some play. So if I take with the queen, he pins my queen on the e file. So I played bishop e6. White again launches a massive attack with queen h5 check. Instead of bishop e6, I had bishop d6. And I just failed to see that my knight was protecting d6. It's a tough move. It's just really an extremely tough move to see. You have to see bishop d6, knight takes f7, castles here. It's forgivable to miss that. I'm getting low on time at this point in the game, so it was already mind-boggling what had happened thus far. I played g6, he plays knight takes g6, h takes g6, and now queen takes h8, which was a blunder. If he plays queen takes g6 check, white is actually winning here, because after bishop f7 he has mate in 11 apparently. I don't even want to go there. So he takes on h8. The comedy of errors continues. I have queen g7. At least I found that move. In the resulting chaos, I'm clearly better now. But by this time I have one minute. He has 2 minutes. Queen b7, bishop e5. Both of us in desperate time pressure. and I tried to develop my pieces, and my king is able to walk out here to d7. I should be winning now at this point, but again, we both have about 2 minutes. It's basically a fast blitz game, and bishop takes d6, queen takes d2 check. This is actually okay for me. Knight takes d6, and it should be good. His king is under pressure. He has back rank problems. I have threats of queen a4, but a comedic ending after rook takes d6, king takes d6, queen e5 check. My king has to walk away. He takes a bishop with check. I walk up to b5. This is the best move. Now queen d7 check, and I missed here the key move rook c6. In time pressure, he has very little time. I have very little time. I need to find rook c6, but I played instead. Oh yes, I did play rook c6. Sorry. Queen b7 check, rook b6. This is the blunder. So here I have to find king a4 in this position. Sorry for that earlier. I did find rook c6. King a5 also works, though, in this position. So the idea of playing the king to a5, king a4 in this case, is winning. King a5 or king a4, both of them. I'm up a piece, and my king is ironically safe at a5 or a4. After this, he's now better again, and the comedy just continues. I'm struggling. I thought I was lost here, but I have to move king c4. He has mate in 3. After rook c5, I thought the king and pawn game was surely lost. Rook takes, queen takes, king takes, and absolutely black has lost this position. So the only chance was to walk into mate. I have king c4 now. It's mate in 3 with queen f7 check. But white had only a minute left on the clock, played b3 check, allowing me to escape with king d4. Now it's a draw. Rook e1, queen c3 check, game drawn. This was just a comedy of errors, but a really funny game, and I thought I'd share it with you guys here. We had a great quality positional win by Ayeste, and interesting games from Move 11 and Nefedov, and this crazy opening, actually good for white. So bringing back that memory of my loss to Boris Kryman in the U.S. Championship in 2003, not really a pleasant memory, but a game I hadn't really properly analyzed, I realize now. It was in one of the last rounds, and I think I just kind of tried to forget about it. But we should never forget about our losses or our wins. We should analyze all of our games conclusively. So Xerox here brought up an interesting variation, and probably my move knight to d7, which Shandor Videcki also played. This move is actually no good because of bishop takes e6 immediately. So I think here I need to play the book recommendation of something like knight takes b3, probably. Anyway, thanks for joining my simuls on Lichess and for subscribing here on YouTube, International Master William Pascal. I'll see you all soon again. Bye-bye.